Considering that there's over 100 million Kalashnikov variant type of weapon systems out in the world today, I wanted to talk a little bit about the different categories of rifles that you're going to encounter, whether you're in a pawn shop, a gun store, or whether you're searching online, or you're just a historian and you want to know a little bit more about them. There's 3 different categories of rifles that you're going to see. Basically, you have your remanufactured imports. Okay, that's the first category. The second category is your complete imports, and then you have a custom. Okay, you can build your own guns from the ground up. We're gonna talk about each one of them, what the pros and cons are to each one of those categories. Now, if you're getting a remanufactured gun, you may look into a pawn shop or into a gun store and go, "Wow, man, $300 or $400 price point on an AK-47. That's great." Okay. A lot of those are great, but they're remanufactured imports. What that means is that a country, whether it's Yugoslavian, Bulgarian, Chinese, Russian, the list goes on, was imported as a parts kit. That means there was a barrel kit, a trunnion kit, but the receiver is gone or it's cut in half, okay, because they cut them out and they send them over in boxes. So basically they're just paperweights at that point. And then what happens is a U.S. import company will take it, or a U.S. manufacturing import company will take it and actually rebuild the receiver. So they'll put a U.S. receiver on it, and a lot of the barrels are crap, so they'll take the barrels and strip them out. They'll insert a U.S. made barrel. Now, let's go down the guns, and I'm just going to use this one for reference here. If you go down a remanufactured import, which this one is, but it just happens to be a really good one, I choose my weapons wisely because I look for these key factors in this weapon. Barrel. Is it a good barrel? Well, it's probably U.S. manufactured barrel. If you can get a remanufactured rifle in this configuration with the original barrel in it, then that's great. But if it's a bad barrel, that company's going to scrap it and put a U.S. softer metal barrel in there. So we need to be careful of that. Moving back on the gas system, okay, the gas system of these rifles. This is where you'll see a lot of gas systems won't mate up properly with the barrel. Now they're still going to work, but they're bent, okay? Even this one has a slight cant to it on the front of the gas system, but it still runs just fine. However, as you move back on the weapon system, back here at this point, you'll see that the sight is actually almost perfect, but it's got a little bit of a left cannon to it. And it's really hard to find one that doesn't have a cant. So look for that spacing between the wooden or polymer handguards back here at the trunnion on each side. If you have too much space, what's going to happen is you're going to have a serious windage when you go out and zero your rifle, serious windage adjustment. Okay, so keep an eye on those kind of things there. If the gas box too screwed up on the barrel, you may have actual cycling issues, which you'll see a lot of these cheaper rifles out there, they don't run very well. Or you get them too hot, you run them in a class environment and they break. Inside the gun, where the barrel meets the trunnion, head spacing issues. You may have head spacing issues because the factory doesn't really put a whole lot of attention into that component, and there may be head spacing issues which obviously could lead to unsafe shooting conditions, specifically if you shoot a lot of rounds through it. Let's talk about mag wells. On some of these manufacturers, they're not really spec'd. They're just kind of stamped out or cut out. And sometimes magazines may fit or may not fit in them. Some of them will be really great. You don't have to touch them at all. Some of them will be too tight, and you have to modify either the mag well or mags, which obviously we don't want to do. So make sure that the mags insert properly in the mag that you want in that rifle that you're looking for, that you're going to buy. So again, it could be because of that U.S. manufactured receiver that they're putting on there. Magazine release latch. Now, some of these may come with the parts kit, some of them not. Maybe they're remanufactured with some of these U.S. import companies. They'll remanufacture these. And sometimes the spring tensions on them will be either way too tight or way too loose. So it's good if you can find an original one that works really well. That's something I keep an eye out there for speed reloads. Obviously, that's a critical thing for me. I don't want my magazines coming out prematurely, but until I want them to. And when I want them to, they do come out. So a lot of guns I pick up off the shelf out there, they're really stiff. All right, triggers. Most of the triggers that are put into these imported rifles, whether it's a parts kit or whether it's a complete rifle or whether it's a custom build, are mostly manufactured in the U.S. So unless you can get your hands on an original trigger kit, which is hard because they're typically full auto and not compliant. And most of the triggers are really decent out there that are U.S. manufactured. I haven't seen a whole lot of bad triggers. So that's your that's your parts kit, okay, where they bring it in parts and they build it up. Then you could get rifles that are complete rifles that are imported from overseas, okay, which means that the receiver and everything is made overseas. Now what's going to happen here is most of the time those manufacturers overseas, they take a lot more time and effort in making sure this weapon system is good because it's probably built for military. And when it's imported in, there's very few things that are changed on the gun. You'll have import stamps, new triggers put in, and a couple little mods here and there. But starting with the barrel, most of the time the barrels are really good. Like this Saga here, or the Yugo, for example, or even this old Romy's got an original barrel on it. Those barrels are really solid, hard metals. They're chrome lined, and that's what you're really looking for. Moving back into the gas block, differences between this gas block and this one, if you're getting an old parts kit gun, you may have lost the chrome lining that's inside of that gas block. So on these complete imports, which are pretty much brand new guns, okay, you're getting still good chrome lining in it, and you're getting a good chrome line barrel. Head spacing on the barrel where it meets the trunnion is going to be pretty much spec on most of those guns that come in that are brand new. And then moving up to the sight blocks on the trunnion, you don't see a whole lot of them that are crooked. I mean, this one's like pretty much zeroed out. And most of the complete import guns that I see that are brand new are really good. And the manufacturers, again, pay a lot of attention to that. All right, moving back to the receiver here. The receivers are, again, they're made overseas. They're good quality. Now, you can either get stamped or milled. And what stamped means is basically this receiver is a flat piece of metal that they put into a jig device and they bend it. And then they rivet it in to the trunnion. Or you can get a milled receiver, which is basically a billet piece of aluminum or steel, and they will actually billet out this entire piece, so there's no folding involved. It's all machine process. Obviously, the milled is a lot heavier than the stamp. That's why they went with this. It's very easy, very simple to make, and the milled is obviously a little bit more harder to machine out and find. Now, on this particular weapon system that's complete, they'll still, again, change the trigger out. It's a US-made trigger, so there's no problems there. Again, the guns are new, but you're going to come with a higher price point. Instead of that $400 price range, you're going to be looking more into your $600, $700, $800, $900, and even higher sometimes, $1,200 price range, depending what kind of options you get, whether it's a folding stock, a fixed stock, a triangular stock, or an older stock that's kind of harder to get. Now, the last one that I consider is besides the home builds, okay, that's in a category all of itself, is the custom build. Now, the custom build, it's pretty much endless what you can do. Now, this is a custom gun that I had built for me by the guys at Rifle Dynamics. This gun is built for me. It's spec'd by me of how I want it to run. So that's where you can go with the custom. You can get any type of mod that you want to it, that as long as a custom builder will do it. You know, different types of stocks, grips, triggers, any type of polymer, rail systems. It's pretty much endless where you can go. Flash hiders, whether it's pinned or whether it's legal, 16 inches. Different style gas blocks. You'll notice that this is more of an AK-74 style bolt and gas block, to where the gases come through the barrel and 90 degrees up. Because the old style slant gas blocks were actually eroding over time, and that's why the newer 74 variants switched to a 90 degree versus the 45 degree. So of course I like to have that on my gun so it doesn't erode over time as well. Rail systems. You can put rail systems so you can put optics on there. The gun is tuned. It's relieved where you need it, like mine's relieved, because when I run a suppressor on this particular gun, it runs perfect for me. It's not overgassed, it's not undergassed. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. Now, of course, that comes with a price point, but building an AK is not as easy as you think. You don't just take a barrel vise and some tools and drop new barrels in it and modify it kind of like an AR-15. It does take some skill. It takes specific, specialized tooling and training to do it. So if you're a home builder, make sure you seek out the proper instruction before you start building a gun together, because I've seen a lot of home builds got out on the range and in classes blow up on people, and that's not what you want. So, but if you're looking for a truly custom gun that runs the way you want it to, there's a few good companies out there that can do that for you. Okay, now that we covered these different categories that you might find out there in the market, let's talk about how you may run them. I have 3 different categories of rifles. Traditional, there's a traditional enhanced, and then custom, okay? This is my personal preference of how I run my guns. I'm a big traditional guy, so I love running the traditional AK-47 style and feel, just because of history, and I have a great respect for the gun, obviously. Then obviously there's your updated traditional rifle, which obviously the AK-74. Okay, obviously chambered in a 5.45 by 3.9 millimeter. So it's a little bit smaller around, obviously, but it is enhanced. It's got a brake on it already. It's got the 90-degree gas block. It's a little bit better built, and of course you can get it in folding stock mods and extended mag releases. So this is the current issue rifle of the Russian Army and now a bunch of other militaries out there. So this is kind of an upgrade of the traditional. So these are the two traditional categories here, both the 7.62 3.9 and 5.45. Now, you'll find a lot of different types of variants out there. This is an M70 Yugo that is basically a traditional Kalashnikov type rifle that I've enhanced. So it's an enhancement. All I've done is, when I'm looking to enhance a traditional rifle, well, the first thing I'm going to need is good mags in a gun. So I'm going to choose really good mags. The second thing is, if I want to reduce recoil or impulse, I'll put a compensator or a brake on there. And obviously I've got a BC AK brake from Battlecomp Enterprises on here that really works well. Other enhancements that you can do, you can put a light on. I've got an impact weapons components just modified mount that actually fits really good in these handguards, and I can put a Surefire Scout on, or I can actually take just a pocket light and mount onto the same exact mount. Now, if you really want to add a little bit extra flavor or some money into your rifle, you can add like ambidextrous charging handles. This is a lightning bolt. The lightning bolt, they didn't make different mods, but this one has left side charging handle and the right side, or you can get it with just the left side. So that's something else that's value added, specifically if you like to switch shoulders like I do. Okay, now the custom mod. The custom, again, is anything that you want, just like I said a minute ago. You could mount different style compensators, brakes, gas blocks, forearms, again, different stocks. So unlike the traditional enhance, I'm actually changing components out. I'm actually putting custom triggers in, changing the barrel from the manufacturer barrel, putting a new custom barrel, new sights. I can put Trijicon sights in, you name it, different folding stocks, aim points, customized for me. So again, it costs a little bit more, so it depends on what your budget is and what you want to do. So those are pretty much your three different configurations of how you can run an AK, whether it's traditional, whether you do some mild enhancements with lights and compensators, or even changing out the operating system, or you can have a completely custom gun. So there you go. There's lots of different type of ammo out there for your AK platforms. Now, depending on your shooting style, your job possibly, or your budget, or the environment that you find yourself in, will determine what kind of ammo you use. Like for training ammo, for example, I use surplus ammo. And then of course there's US manufactured ammo, but I'll talk about the differences really quick. Surplus ammo, this is 5.45 by 3.9. This is what I use on a 74 platform. The pros, great terminal ballistics. It's an awesome round. They actually call it the poison bullet. Okay, but the cons to it is that it's highly corrosive. So you got to clean your rifles right away because you don't want to corrode your barrel, specifically if you don't have a chrome line barrel. Same in the 7.62 by 3.9 category. Same thing applies there. Then you have your US manufactured ammunition. Okay, this stuff's not corrosive, and of course you're going to get better performance out of most of the stuff that's out there on the market. So again, depending on what you do. But what I want to talk about here is if you're using corrosive ammo, which a lot of people do because of the price point of it. You could buy a lot of it for really cheap. You could train with it. Now, obviously, if I have the opportunity and I'm back home, I'm shooting on the range, I go home to the house, I'm going to run some rods through it. I'm going to clean the gun very well. I'm going to get all the corrosive stuff out of there. Now, there's lots of myths out there that you can use different chemicals. You could use different solvents, or you can use like Windex to clean the corrosiveness out. Honestly, all you need is water. Water will clean out the corrosiveness out of these guns. So if you're out in the field, maybe you're hunting, maybe you're out in combat and you don't have a whole lot of stuff going on cleaning supply wise, you can literally find a puddle and clean the corrosiveness out of your barrel just to keep it lasting. Okay, you'll find a lot of foreign countries do this. In Africa, I saw this when kids would go by and clean their rifles after they were in combat. They'd dip them in the ponds, and that's all they needed to do. I'll show you really quick. Taking your weapon system. Okay. And all I'm going to do is dip it and swish it around. And that alone right there is about enough to get all your corrosiveness out of the gun. That's all you need to do. So that's a great thing about the AK design. It's so rugged and so durable and so easy to build and so well built, really, that you really don't have to worry about getting detailed maintenance on it. Now, of course, I'm going to take this back and oil it really good. But again, worst case scenario, you need to get that corrosiveness out of the barrel.